What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you an early preview of Hell Is Us, an upcoming third-person action adventure from Rogue Factor being published by Nacon, and I'm able to bring you this preview because I was given early access to a demo that should be available right as this video is going live. So if you do enjoy this video and you want to check this out for yourself, their demo should be available over on their Steam page. But for now, let's go ahead and get into it. So Hell Is Us is an interesting game because it takes some elements from things like Resident Evil, where you're having to solve all these little puzzles, but puts it alongside some more action-oriented content as well, where we're fighting off all manner of these mysterious beings known as Hollow Walkers, who can only be affected by certain weapons. But backing it up a little bit, we play a set character, a man known as Remy. Remy, as a young child, a 5-year-old to be specific, was smuggled out of an isolated country known as Hadia. With only a necklace from his family on him as he was put into foster care, having all grown up, is deciding to smuggle himself back into the country so he can finally get some answers, only to find this place in the midst of a civil war, alongside this supernatural calamity that somehow involves ancient ruins that seem to be at least 1,000 years old. Now, while Hell Is Us is intended to be a challenging game, it is worth mentioning that there are combat difficulty presets, things like that. You can change how much health and damage enemies have, there's some modularity to it, and you can even decide how punishing death winds up being. And I want to mention that up front because it does have some decently challenging melee combat that's pretty obviously not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but this isn't really a Souls-like or anything like that either, hence all the difficulty options, so I just wanted to throw that out there. But a short ways into investigating the few leads we do have on what happened to our family, we quickly encounter one of these strange beings made up of some emotionally resonant material inside a sort of white humanoid structure that makes up the bulk of the enemies. These things are immune to conventional weapons like guns, and luckily we just so happen to be saved by someone wielding a sword that seems capable of actually hurting these things. But that person is a little unlucky in the sense that they die in this fight, and we take up all of their equipment to start fighting back against these things ourselves, and thus we are then able to defend ourselves as we investigate more and more of what's going on here. Now, getting to the bottom of all these mysteries is going to be a pretty big focal point of this game, as you might expect. In some ways, that simply involves, of course, progressing the main plot, which is an investigation of sorts about where your family has gone, or what they've been up to, or just what is happening here generally. Now, even that, though, bears perhaps a little bit of an explanation, because this game doesn't have, like, a lot of features that are going to tell you where to go or what to do, but rather you're going to gather information through, of course, simply interacting with people, talking to them, exploring, and then you can, of course, make use of that information to track down specific mysteries, solve puzzles, that kind of thing. But again, none of this is going to be explicitly told to you, and thus what you're able to do or what you want to do is largely going to be left up to you. And in that way, at least the way this sort of quest structure works is actually really similar to what Atomfall was doing, which just released a little bit earlier this year, which is why I make the comparison. But let's dig a little deeper. Now, the puzzles seem, again, to me, very Resident Evil in nature. Finding items, finding the right place to use those items, solving some small puzzles to fix things, and then open up new passageways, or find extra gear, information, etc. I think just from that description and the stuff on screen, you'll likely kind of get what they were going for. Now, the other side of that, though, is combat. We aren't just given weapons and told to hack and slash, but there is some methodology to it in the form of various weapons we can equip, alongside gear we'll be able to equip. Weapons will have a level associated with them that you increase just by using them. While it's not available in the demo I played, it looks like you'll also be able to eventually upgrade these weapons in a way that allows you to add glyphs and modify them as well. Only 2 weapons were available in the demo, but they've already mentioned and shown others off in their pre-release trailers and stuff, like spears and great axes, and it looks like you'll eventually get your hands on some abilities to customize this even farther. But in the demo here, what we do get access to is a drone as a bit of equipment to actually make use of, and this drone is going to do things like distract enemies, and even then I'll also give you access to other abilities to affect combat with. It also acts as things like your flashlight and seems to play a pretty active role in helping you out. Otherwise, you've got your pretty basic stuff, standard and heavy attacks, you can block, you can parry. or you can simply dodge out of the way. Some of your equipment will inevitably affect stuff like this, but you do have health and stamina. Your max stamina is determined by how much health you currently have, and it does reward being a little bit aggressive here and there via its main form of healing in combat, which is your healing pulse. As you attack enemies, you'll build up a charge of particles, and if you time it right, you can get some of your health back by doing that, alongside just regular health consumables. Now, on the enemy side of things, while most of them seem to be straightforward enough, the ones you really have to watch out for are the linked enemies. So sometimes these enemies are essentially 2-in-1. That is to say, they have the sort of main physical body, which is typically that humanoid white portion of it, and then a typically red sort of emotional part. In order to actually kill the thing, you need to kill the humanoid white enemy, called, I believe it's a Hollow Walker, but in order to affect that body at all, you first have to destroy the colorful orb, and these do act independently of one another, which means you have to fight off both of them at the same time and try to avoid their attacks, of course, and trying to do all of that while also fighting other enemies as well is typically where combat is going to get a little messy, I imagine. But again, you can customize all that via quite a few different options, so I don't think it'll be too bad, all things considered. Now, as of right now, that was basically everything there was to see in this demo, so as far as thoughts go, it seems very interesting. I'm definitely intrigued by what they've got going on here. In terms of the story, they started off with a sort of interrogation where you've clearly been picked up after the fact by whatever organization is keeping this country isolated. There's the investigation, obviously, about where all these things come from. How does your family and your character fit into all this? And just from the atmosphere and the things you encounter, and obviously the name of the game itself, it does kind of seem like they're trying to lean into a war is hell type of vibe meets some supernatural elements, which I thought was interesting given all the modern tech and everything we see on full display. So I'm especially interested in seeing how all of that pans out. I also think Atomfall did this particular type of questing particularly well, and given the at least presumed open-endedness of how you can approach all these objectives, I'd be curious if there's any sort of branching paths to the narrative. But as for right now, from what I could tell playing this demo, it seems like an especially promising upcoming third-person action adventure, which is supposed to be out in September. I am obviously planning a review for this one, so you can definitely expect that a few months from now as well. But as I mentioned, that demo is also available if you want to check this out for yourself, and I think for today that is pretty well where we're going to wrap up this particular video. So hopefully you enjoyed all that. If you did, by all means, like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube jazz. Let me know how you feel about this one down in the comment section below, but regardless of any of that, truly, just thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. May you wander in wisdom and have an amazing day.